forgotten. This is Harbor Town.
Let's not actually
Harbor
get a
Town
chance
is
to
an
listen
all-new
to
series
the
from
Twitch show.
Miniature
I
Building
can't say
Authority,
I
the
don't
leader
get a
in
chance
tabletop.
You always have it muted, huh?
Yes, I
Unique,
was having muted.
Flexible and playable, Harbor Town will take your games to a new destination.
I usually have the music playing in the background while I'm doing something else.
Oh, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So that... Okay. Good. And Rox, I'm glad you could hear it because I just accidentally popped my headset out. So it's like,
Hi, Rox.
tripped the cord. Yes, and then another. That's Jason Zaverda tonight, Rox. Hit the Reaper one real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta get an updated Reaper one. Oh, can't keep on announcing it. Jason, you know the joke behind the comet in the sky, right? Well, I couldn't hear you there.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
It was some echo.
okay.
Yeah, Jason was you.
That's cool.
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah, that's a bit. The comet's a joke, actually. The comet is was like Tim's version of Morty Kane's Disjunction when I cometized all the Monty Hall characters going all the way back. They're like, we don't play our old characters anymore. I said, okay. You want to play them? They're going to get cometized, and that's what happened. So, character sees a comet in the sky, they run and hide.
Yeah, I had that the Twitch page on. I was getting the echo from it.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, you gotta mute that. You mute that completely. Mute
Yep.
that completely, and it'll be fine because you'll be watching. You can watch through XSplit live. That's the way. Yeah. So,
Yeah, that way you get it without 10-second delay too. So it's
Yeah.
good.
Yep. Absolutely.
The only thing is you don't get the audio, the stream, but it's less of a problem now because now it's only us, but we don't hear the music from the intro and stuff.
Right. I don't run music during the show anyway, so it's you
Yep.
know it's not that big of a deal on that end. So, but you know, we'll be seeing. We shall see.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Next.
if multi-class it with a thief or rogue, then you get an interesting combination. It can be
definitely.
really,
Pretty sick.
Yeah, I remember we had some illusionist rogues when we played 3rd edition or 3.5, and they were nasty. They could do a lot of tricks. They can also hide a lot of things, do audio illusions and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I had a high-level gnome illusionist in my Giants novel I wrote.
Cool.
Yeah.
Gnomes are fun.
Yeah. Have you published that, Jason?
It's it's fanfic. It's Nazareth Saga.
Oh yeah, but is that available on your website?
Yeah, it's on the blog in pieces. I'm putting it together for Greyhawk Online as one document.
Oh yes.
Nice.
Oh, wonderful! Thank you. I'm really looking forward to that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm reading about Geoff. I'm going over to make my 576 map, and I'm in the Sheldamar Valley, and Geoff is one of these that really got torn up in later editions, so I need to go back to the sources, readjust it again.
Hidden gem NPCs tonight, everyone. It should be a real interesting conversation. I will stick more to Greyhawk published source one, even though Anna's asked me to talk about a couple of my own creation, and we shall see. We should have some time for that. Some of the more fun ones. Yeah, I think 4 of those 5 picks are published source. One's not. One is one of mine. What's up, Tom? Tom, how was your concert? How was your weekend? You'll be back Thursday, I assume, which is good to see. Finish up in the Sus Forest. Last adventure of the year, I imagine, what it will be, before the holidays come. Alright, it's 7:30. Let's hop on here. Good evening. How is everyone tonight? Hello. I'm Jay, aka Lord Gazumba, and I got 2 guests tonight. I have Anna Myers rejoined us, and a special guest tonight. He unfortunately does not have a cam, but that's okay. We got his voice, and that's all we need to get all this information from the great mind of Jason Zavoda. So, Jason, say hello. Thanks for coming on for the first time, man.
Well, thank you, Jay. I'm glad to be here.
I'm really, really excited to have you on here. I know you have unbelievable amounts of data for us. What would you call your? Do you call it glossography? Do you call it a library? What do you call your, publication that shows references for everywhere?
Well, it's an index to something greater, and I always took from Britannica, so I called it the Encyclopedia Greyhawkania.
Oh yes,
That's cool. That makes sense. That makes real good sense. And you started that back before 2000?
Yeah, there was an old email shared list called Greyhawk, and we started a project back then to index all the material, but it really wasn't catching on, so I just took to it and I ran with it. And pretty soon, with some help, I was able to index about 99% of the published material at that point.
Wow. Man. When was your last update, if I might ask?
Well, my last update was back in 2003. Now, I never really took much to third edition, so that's really, I've got some third edition material there. But since third used a lot of core ideas and deities that came from Greyhawk,
Right.
but without a great deal of other information, I kind of just let things slide after the last of the second edition material was released.
Well, I mean, for us old schoolers, it's great, right? I mean, you have so much on there. And for my legends and lore, I found that Rob Kuntz right off. I mean, it took me only 5 minutes to find that Rob Kuntz discussion on the Doom Knights, going back to like the early Dragon magazine, because it was there. I was like, oh my gosh, and I had never read that article before, and it was sitting there all those years ago. So
Yeah, even me who uses later editions, it's still invaluable because it covers such a large area, large amount of the Greyhawk content, and especially the years when Greyhawk was the official setting and when it was the biggest setting and all that. So it's fantastic.
Well, my big regret is at the beginning of the Living Greyhawk phase, I did index the LGG, the Living Greyhawk Gazette here. Eric Mona had contacted me after that and picked it up for Dragon magazine. I think it's Dragon 296 or something, where they put it in as the the Living Greyhawk journal issues.
Yep. There is also, that's based on yours, that index he made for that one.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
and they
Cool.
didn't mind me fooling around with it. You really can't use the index without the source material. It's just names and numbers.
Yeah.
So if
True.
you really want to use it, you got to pick up things like the Marklands there and see what it actually says.
Absolutely.
But if you do have that source material, then you can make pretty good use of it. Like, for example, for what we're talking with tonight, one of the things that I've been doing is I tagged a lot of things with little subheadings within the index. So I been doing little sub indexes. I just recently did a listing of the gnomes that were noted down, the wolves, all the various named NPCs for some of the subheadings.
How long did that take?
Well, basically taking that stuff from the index is just cut and paste. That's not too bad when it's not some huge undertaking. Cutting out just all the NPCs that are listed in the index would be, maybe dozens or maybe 100 pages long. So that would take a bit.
Okay, interesting. Well, I'm appreciative of it. I know Anna is. I know everyone who's watching is. And I want to say thanks. And I know this topic tonight you really have an affinity for. So that's why I wanted to invite you on and discuss some hidden gem NPCs. I mean, we all know the Mordenkainens and the Tensors of the world, but let's delve into those. Get deep into all these old references and some great, real cool characters. I use a lot in my campaign, and Anna has some in her campaign. I'm assuming, Jason, you've used a lot in your stories and your campaign. So here's my opening question to both of you. Think back. What was like your first NPC? You're like, man, that is so cool in Greyhawk. I have mine. I'll let you, either one of you, go first. If you want me to go first, I'll go first. But I have mine.
Oh yeah. I have one, and actually, when I ran the Homlet first time back in '84 or something, I had the trades guy in Homlet, the guy who he had like a store, he sold things, and the funny thing is that we had an old man, and it's kind of sad to say now, in the town that I grew up, that should be unnamed for obvious reasons, that he treated his customers bad, and he was always trying to squeeze money out of everyone who walked in the store, and he was sweaty and he had health issues, and so he was kind of a phenomenon. So I based my interpretation of that NPC. I forgot the name now, but so we called him the same name, and everybody in the game group, they instantly understood how he was. But so that was my first kind of try when I was like 16 years old or something. I was probably 17, 18 or something, and trying to establish an NPC with a character and a role and all that, and that was fun. So we had fun doing that.
Cool. How about you, Jason? What do you think?
Well, sorry about that.
Sorry.
Getting back to Hamlet, same thing for me. It was Rufus and Byrne who ended up being two of the big NPCs.
Good ones. Real good ones, too. I'm real close to you. So we're all in Hamlet. All three of us remember Hamlet because it was so memorable. All right. Yeah, Rufus and Byrne. I could have snipped a picture of them, too, walking out of the tower from that adventure. Right? I mean, and, did you have them? Did you use them afterwards?
Fantastic bit of artwork.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Did you use Hamlet afterwards in a campaign setting at all, and like expand on that, Jason?
Well, I did.
Oh, I certainly.
Both of you did. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Mine is.
We've come. Oh, sorry. Go
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say we've come back to Hamlet many times over the years, just because it's a classic little village and that became a town, and it was just fun to come back to at times. So just for traveling through and stuff like that. So it happened, like we used to have, like once we actually have an adventure where the group just went to Hamlet just to take vacation for a bit, take in on the inn and just have fun. And of course a little bit happened and I made an adventure about it, but it was kind of just for some R&R, and it's fun. Yeah,
there were some great characters in there. Otis, right? There's a whole bunch, but mine, and there was never a pic of them, but they made a figure of them, and it wasn't that long ago. Here we go. Right after Gord, Yelik, Clavdra. Larith the Beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Now, I said, what a cool name. This guy is a human. He fights with a mace, right? He's badass. He's all really good looking. He worships Loth. I was like, this is like, and I just felt bad. It was like one of those guys. I was like, man, when the first time he did it, I wish he would have been around longer. It was just such a cool antithesis. And we all were so disappointed when it took, how many years was it? 7, 8 years before Temple of Mount Evil came out. We're just stuck there. But that was mine that that's a good one too, David. Yep, absolutely. You remember your low-level adventures, and that was one that I just stuck with me. I was like, wow, what a cool name for a villain too. So, well, good to hear. So we're going to bounce around. We're going to listen to your suggestions out there too, for people. Definitely Caddic Evil. I mean, how could you be a human and worship Loth? I mean, that was just so cool. Back in the day. I agree, David. It was a great concept for a character. So we have them all over the place. Jason, why don't you throw one out there? We'll start it off and we'll just talk, and then we'll each take turns bringing out some of these that we want to discuss. So what do you got on the plate for us first?
Well, this is maybe one that you're familiar with, even, as Arental was the head of the Thieves Guild.
Yeah, Arental.
And big character in the Gord books as well as in the regular setting. And Arental led a particular a war between the beggars and the thieves in the old saga of the Old City. And between Arental and Thaddeus the Beggar Master and a whole bunch of really cool NPC characters created by Gygax for that book, I mean, that ended up being about a year and a half of adventuring for my old-time group back in the 80s.
So you actually did the conflicts?
Oh, yes.
Nice.
The thief, beggar, assassin war was a huge thing for us.
That is so awesome. We did the ones with the River Quarter, the Thomas Rotic. We did that one, which is much more smaller scale than you. I wish that we had done that. I mean, that sounds so fantastic. This is was Orgnension around in those, or did they make him afterwards? He's the current, isn't he? The current head of the Thieves Guild now, according to the box sets.
No, I'm really not sure offhand.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Arental was always mentioned. Was it Gaspar was the king of the beggars at that time? Gaspar.
Maroff Gaskell, I think, is the one who came after him.
Yeah, after Aaron. Okay, all right. But definitely a great story because you just wish that it's momentous, that size. Man, I would have loved to have done that. Definitely. Yeah. Well, Tom mentioned two of mine. We'll get to them. Tom, Anna already said you got to talk about them. All
Yeah,
right, because
you
Anna
have
says she
all
wants
your
to rip them.
games.
She wants to use them for her campaign, which is great. So, Jason, that was a real good one. Anna, how about you? Got one you want to throw out there?
Well, I have one of the rulers are often, we talked about Aaron Toll, Jason mentioned him, and some of the rulers that I kind of used extensively is well, I had Prince. Oh, hang on a second here. One evil. Start with the evil ones. Prince Ferdinand. If you want a black splinter, it's part of Rel Devon, the Principality of Rel Devon.
Okay.
There is he's a human vampire necromancer. He's
Oh my
like
gosh.
15th, 17th level, and he rules an area. He's that kind of really creepy kind of Count Dracula, kind of Ravenlofty NPC, but he's not completely gone mad, so to speak. He's not out there to kill everybody. He's just there to stay in his little area, and he needs company at times and so on. So he's kind of interested, and so I used him a bit, and also you have the ruler of Rel Devon that I'm now. When I have the name in front of me, but now I can't find it in
Question:
my
Was
list.
he living
Yeah.
Greyhawk? Where's the reference where you can find
Yeah,
him?
it's LG. I don't think he's mentioned before. Black Splinter is probably not mentioned before. It was kind of a marshy area on the map, and some of the maps that I think Eric Anundsen did the first maps of the area, and that was called the Splinter Marches. Well, no, the Splinter Marches is actually what I named them afterwards. But it
Okay.
was so they added the that was an unpopulated area, and someone put him in there for the Living Greyhawk campaign, and they have there is also the Marquis Karn Seren. He is a paladin that is now tasked with cleaning it up after the war. That's another one of the NPCs that I used extensively in the campaign as one of the good guys, so to speak. And then you have the Prince of Rel Devon. He's kind of a good, but he needs to play cool because the king of, or the over king of the United Kingdom of Alyssa is kind of an evil bastard. So it's kind of a good sub province in something that is not overtly evil but subvertly evil. So it was a very interesting gray area with a lot of, you could play it very much like you can in adventure fantasy movies and stuff. It was like you had the evil king and you had a good province there, hideout, and you can do things. So it was kind of a very underhanded campaign where you can have a lot of depth in it. So we had a lot of fun with that.
All living Greyhawk, or some of them Ivid the Undying?
Evid, it's Evid the Undying. Most of it is from
Okay.
Evid the Undying.
I
Yes,
didn't
yeah,
put that
yeah.
one up. I should have put that one up
Yeah,
as a
I
reference.
think
My
even
apologies.
if Prince Ferdinand is in Evid the Undying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So it's a lot of it is mentioned there, and then it got even more fleshed out in the Living Greyhawk campaign.
while Jason gets, when he talks next, I'm going to try and snip that into the scroller. I should have Ivid the Undying up. I definitely should. My apologies for that. So I'm going to go with mine that I love, and I love the characters when I make a sheet up and they're used repeatedly.
I have to mention the name because I have it now. It's Prince Carvend of Rel Devon, and that is and it's interesting. He's from a different noble house that has more of a good tradition and stuff in Great Kingdom. But that's part of a long story about Great Kingdom for another episode of Legends and Lore or something.
Jason, you know a lot about Ivid the Undying? There's not an area of expertise for you.
Not really. I'm not a big Ivid person or a sergeant. I've read through everything about twice, but I really didn't use a tremendous amount of that for my own campaign.
Okay, I'm the same way. I didn't use Ivid the Undying at all. We never used that side of the map, so but it's good to get to know that there's a lot of great content out there and there's a lot of great named characters, which is it's good to get a whole perspective of the entire area of Greyhawk. I agree on that, definitely. All right, so this character comes from the Ashes box set. one of those named NPCs that you're like, oh, this person looks pretty cool. Someone used this character in a dungeon magazine adventure. I wasn't too thrilled about the way the character was used, so I ignored it. And so that is the wonderful Bladestorm. Okay, she is a Bladestorm. She's one member of the Norwell Headhunters. Ranger, multi-class Ranger, specialty priestess of Tritherion. She fights longsword, which is cool. We have rules for doing that with a skill called Monkey Grip, and she also can make her weapons dance. So she has all these. That's why she's called Bladestorm. They once told her, the background story on her is they once told her, go if you bring these bandits' heads back, and she came back with 25 heads in a bag. One of those typical chaotic goods. I'm gonna get it done at all costs. Bill's character Trevin, especially priest of Tritherion, and my NPC Brolin, interact with her a lot out of Norwell, and we have decided that when we do firsts, our new first levels. Hey Brian, what's going on? And it's going to be sometime next year. We're going to start first levels in Norwell itself. So I'm excited about that, and so you'll see a lot of Bladestorm. I've even used this character in Mark's game when I NPC'd in someone. They met Bladestorm in the Gnarly Forest, so I really love this character a lot. So that's mine to start off things. And you will be seeing a lot of her when we do in the Norwell first levels. So, yeah. So Bill says late next year, time to paint all those figures. We got to get the figures for the characters in the first place, because we require a painted metal miniature for every PC we have, and with the joint groups, that's about 18 figures he's got to paint. So, yeah, lots of names to steal for homebrew games. Absolutely rocks. All right, Jason, what do you got for us?
Okay, now the next thing, a lot of this stuff does come from the city of Greyhawk. It's been one of my big areas of campaigning, and that is Mega Xiao, who is one of the representatives of Beyond the Borders of the Flyness. He is from a Knight Errant story, which is a post TSR Gygax novel. It's a collection of short stories. And it's called the Five Dragon Bowl.
Oh,
and
nice.
It does give you information about the West, beyond the mountains of the West, which is a very Asian style. It's kind of where they would have put the Karatur kind of thing from the Forgotten Realms. And he just proved to be such a good central figure. He's an antiquarian, so he buys things from adventurers, sends them out on missions. He's also an evil character, so but secretly. So he just turns out to be such a wonderful NPC. As a resource of villain, somebody the players trusted, who really ends up stabbing them in the back. I just love that character. He doesn't have a big role in the Gygax fiction, but he is just such an inspiration for me.
Do you what reference? Hey, what's up? There's Carlos is saying hello to you, Jason, and
hey, Carlos.
Carlos, I asked you to come on tonight too. Remember? I did.
He can pop in. Yeah.
Yes. So you could be on talking with the great Jason Zavoda here too, man. And Jason, what references could someone find that character? It's good to see you on, Carlos. I hope you're feeling better, man.
Magus Yoke, he can only be found in Knight Errant and the short story The Five Dragon Bowl.
Okay.
I have, I unfortunately got to jump around on screens here, and
okay.
It just doesn't work for me to try to pull up my index. So
no problem.
I'm just going to have to leave that, or for somebody who can access it to grab hold and look him up. And he's there right in the big index listing.
Okay. All right. It's too bad Gaetano's usually that linker too, and he doesn't seem to be on tonight. But Knight Errant, which that's did Gary Gygax write that novel? Is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
he did. Yeah,
Okay.
I can hang on a second. I have it
Okay.
here, so I
That's
can
cool. Yeah,
I
you
can
could
show
it.
what it looks like.
So,
Yeah, I have the.
It is a fantastic collection of short stories, and one of them lists. It's called Twistbuck's Game, and he's another NPC I'll talk about. And it lists endless numbers of streets within the city of Greyhawk and inns and tavern names.
cool.
The
Nice.
other thing it does is there's another story that if pre-Planescape, it links Gygax's version of travel to other planes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a complement to the first. This is what the cover looks like. It's
Okay.
Knight Errant. It's a thick book, and
Wow.
it's the first one that was actually published by TSR, the Saga of Old City, the first of the Gord novels. This is kind of a complementary because it tells about the same story, but from a different perspective, and it fills in a lot of blanks and stuff from a lot of the short stories, and it's awesome. This one and
Can you tell me what year they were published, roughly?
yeah, and this one, City of Hawks, it's another one of Gary's. These two complement the first books that were published. Let's see, the Knight Errant is from I think early 90s or something
Okay.
like that. Let's see here. It's from no, it's from 87. This is from
Okay.
87. The
Okay.
first one is from 84, if I remember correctly. Hang on a second. I have to find it in the pile here.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to
let's
know
see.
that some really great stuff was being put out in that era.
Yeah, it is
Post
from
Unearthed Arcana, pre
85. They're from
City
85.
Greyhawk set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. There's like a whole series of them, and I think it's the latest ones. It ended with Come Endless Darkness, I think, but hang on a second. We have to see here. The last one is published 88, the Come Endless Darkness, but there's might be one more.
David Leonard says that City Hawks is the best of them. What do you think, Jason? Which is your favorite?
Well, I'd have to. I'm torn. Knight
It's awesome,
Errant's a
yeah.
little different from everything because it's a collection of short stories.
Right.
I would say for me, it's got to be Sea of Death.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that one. I forgot about that one. I have that one
Sea
here
of Death
too somewhere.
takes Gord into the Sea of Dust, and it is just. I mean, it's an unexplored, undetailed area of the Flanness. It's the heart of the old Slul Imperium, and it is wonderful. It has the essence of such a fantastic adventure there. That for me, it is the core of a description of that area and a glimpse into the past of the Slul Imperium.
Yep.
Nice.
Totally agree. It's fantastic, and one of my absolute favorite villains, NPC villains in the whole universe of Gygaxian universe is he's mentioned in many of these books, and it's Lord Vuron, Grast's right hand man, the albino kind of lawful demon, and he's awesome. So
Yeah,
I've used him
Voron's a
extensively.
fantastic character.
Yep. So it's one of my absolute favorite characters.
Is he active
NPCs.
in your campaign there, Anna?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's been he's been touring, helping, just screwing up for many times over. So my party both love him, hate him,
Awesome.
trust him, are terrified of him, and yeah. So he's kind of he's one of these. He's a bit like the top powers and Push's right hand. He's super genius and just love to mess around with politics, so to speak. And he wants it to go on more than to destroy things, so to speak. I think he's interested in the game. That's my take on him. And he also wants to keep his boss in position, so to speak.
Well, I feel like I'm devoid of this conversation because I guess I have a treat. One day I should start reading these.
Oh yeah, exactly. Read them and yes,
it's sad to say.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know any better, but
Yeah,
But
and the first one, you're going to love it because this is a road movie across it starts in Greyhawk, city of Greyhawk, and then he just goes on a road trip around the Flanness it might not be the best literature, but if you love the setting, it's absolutely awesome. And the second one, then you start getting into the deep politics, and he gets in trouble and all that. So yeah.
All right. Well, with that one, I guess I'm up again, and I'm going to go to one that she just popped up. I really did not like some of the things they did from the Free City Greyhawk box set to the From the Ashes box set, in particular this one. They kill off Valderes's Sharn for no reason I can see. All right. And I love this character. Marco always, Shieldlander, pure lawful good, uh, holy warrior, and always wants to ally with. We used it a lot with player characters interaction, and so I said, forget that. I'm gonna have her not get killed, and we use her to this day as she's one of the three, in charge of the Shieldlands currently in its military organization. Herself and another character that will pop up, and Marco's character David Gradavis. So, we use that character this day, and I'm so glad that I didn't say, oh yeah, she just died in the wars, which they did with a lot of characters. And you gotta make that choice. You gotta make that choice as a DM what direction you want to go. That you don't have to say, "Oh, well, everything in this box that I have to do," and that was not the case for us. So definitely one on that I would recommend to taking a look at, and just depending on where you are in your time frame, because if you got a lot going on in the Shieldlands, you want interesting personalities. I'm going to show some in a little bit that aren't considered published source canon, but are published nonetheless in that black book second edition era where everything was generic, and a lot of that was Bruce Cordell. I'm trying to get on the show, to talk about a lot of this stuff, but I'll talk about some of them. So that would be mine. So okay, Jason, what do you got next for us?
Okay, well, now normally what I'd say it's best to talk about NPCs that have a good or at least a strong personality, so that you're not just really taking a name and creating them. I've done a great deal of that with the module player character names that are really nothing but names that you conjure with, but really have no kind of background or history or anything. You just kind of take that name from a cool module and run with it. Now, I kind of did this with, again, I'm big on the Gygax novels. I did a big thing with the Rene, the barge people.
Yeah.
And Gygax had just a small little section with Gord getting involved with the Rene when he's fleeing from Greyhawk, when they're all out to get him. And there are a number of very interesting characters. They're very Romany Gypsy-like, and that's very much how I ran with them. There is Adaz. Gord ends up getting a kind of Rene bride pushed on him.
Yep.
There is Estrella. There's Miklos. There's old Anya, who is a Rene soothsayer. Now, out of them all, old Anya ended up being the one who she is perhaps the most useful that I found. She's a soothsayer, so kind of like out of Lockmar, where the characters would have these wizard patrons. She ended up being this character, this NPC that my players would always come back to, because she'd always lead them on to clues and tell them about things. And her prices were much more reasonable than the people in Greyhawk City itself. So they would be coming to her, and for her to do things wasn't so much a coin cost as she'd send them on little errands that usually involved much more than they thought they were going to be. So she ended up being a focus for me for so much adventuring.
Nice.
Yep, I remember those stories from the books, and it's great. And then he went to he picked up when he went across near Div. He gained up with their brother people, the Atloi, the land-based Reni, so to speak. and there were some stories with them too. And then I think he went all the way over through Nyrond and up to the Flinty Hills and got in trouble.
Oh, Gord was so all over the place. I mean,
Yep.
even Hamlet is mentioned in those books.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, that's probably intentional by Gary to get the whole world introduced.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great idea, definitely
Yep.
on his part. Carlos asked you, Jason, do you draw parallels between the Rennie and the Vistani of Ravenloft from the original Ravenloft? I would say yes, but I'm not
I
sure.
would, but I haven't heavily done much reading, or I've had those books, and I think I've read them through, and I know that there's a lot of supplemental material that came out with Ravenloft. But
Right.
for me, Strahd was just a conversion for a Greyhawk vampire lord that I used the material for without necessarily, and I never took Strahd off into a demi-plane.
I agree. I don't like
Used
that
the same
concept either.
material.
I mean, I love that Zalen's first appears in Ravenloft 2, and Zalen is Greyhawk, definitely, right? But having Soth there and having all the having like, but hey, whatever. It's sold
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I'm playing in a campaign now that we started out in the Immediate, but she brought it into Ravenloft. So I'm actually playing Elf, and we are tangled up with Vistani and stuff. And yes, I see a lot of parallels between
Okay.
the Rennie and the Vistani.
Good
Yeah.
to know. Good to
Mhm.
know. All right,
Yep.
hopefully that answers your question, Carlos. All right, Anna, what do you got? You got something for us?
Let's see. We kind of. I want to go in. Well, I mentioned Karn. He was one of the good guys that I used because I needed to flesh out the party and boost them a bit. So I used him and he was in taking care of Shathold after the war. He became March. He is the marsh of the marshland of Shathold. That is thinking. But one of the other big menace that I used in that campaign was Duke Sephrin. And he's mentioned heavily in even the Undying, and he was the last general of the Great Kingdom in that area that he was fighting a war against Nyrond and Almor, and he was the conqueror and ruler of Almor when Great Kingdom, and he's kind of almost a Death Knight, so to speak. I don't think he's technically a Death Knight because he didn't swear allegiance to Demogorgon or whichever fiend it was, but he became an animus and he was thoroughly evil and he turned undead, so to speak. So he's kind of a Death Knight. He has a lot of the same features and stuff, but he wasn't created as a Death Knight the normal way. But in many ways, he is a Death Knight. And I played him as such, and he was one of the menaces that comes back in my Raldevin campaign, and I loved him thoroughly, and I made heraldry for him, and he's
Nice.
mentioned throughout the Even Undying. And if you want a real asshole enemy to support your players with, Duke Sephrin is awesome because there's so much villainy attached to him through that module that it's a lot to build upon, so to speak.
I'm noticing a trend here. Jason's going to all the Gordon novels.
Yep.
Anna goes to the Even the Undyings,
Mm-hmm.
and I go to I'm going to all the early publications from Sergeant Back box sets. I mean, I guess it's what we grew up with or what we used in our campaigns, right?
Yeah, for me, it's because I ran for over 4 years. That was my latest campaign that I ran thoroughly. That's why I'm still a fresh memory of, so to speak. So.
No, but they're all different perspective, which is great. We can all share our own, experience with the NPCs, which makes it even better. So, all right, mine, the next one. Let's see if I can do this properly. I never can, but we're going to go to the Eyes, the Evil, okay? And I love this character so much that I don't know even if Bill, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but I don't know if I'll ever let you guys kill this character off. I love her so much. All right, I'm going to try and switch to a map. Let's see if it works this time. Every time I do this, it messes up. So it should be the first one. Oh, well, that's close. That's actually the wrong Shieldlands map. So I did it again. Wrong side. There. Okay.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right.
you made it.
All
You made
right.
it.
So this is Anna's edit map for us, and you can see down south. You see Warmark, which is I've been showing this. This is the Legion's fortress, and they also own Kinset Mansion. If you notice, the Free Reavers lands are like 3 times the size what they should be. I use the Free Reavers extensively in our campaign in this area, and the characters, only 2 of them ever mentioned, both in the Eyes of Evil set, and one is Eldrin Bloodspitter, a priestess of Erythnol, but the leader is named Sharon Vel Valinar, and it's a very nice read in in that Eyes the Evil. It says she can be pretty when she smiles. She smiles most when she's cutting a Sharon smile on someone, and the Sharon smile is a throat cut from ear to ear. So I was like very. It was she's like 14th level, and she hates E as much as she hates good characters. So she has these hours of slaying evil priests, and like she threatens the E's priests if they ever come around on the lands. So I kind of like that kind of character that just hates everyone and does her own thing. A really true chaotic evil character. Not allying with Ayas, not out, just out for themselves. So they're going to see a lot of the Free Reavers come when we start the Trials of the Legion semi-mega campaign coming up in 2020 to celebrate our 40th anniversary. So that'd be one that I'll keep right here and hold on to her and utilize her in a very nasty ways.
What is she canon coming from some?
From Eyes Evil set.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah,
Eyes Evil.
They only ever mentioned 2 of the Free Reavers, and there's probably a dozen of them. I named a couple of the other ones.
Yeah, I think that it references like it's a dozen. It's an adventure group or something, a war band or something.
Yeah, and even the Eyes knows better. The priests know better than to leave them alone. So that's something to look forward to, guys. There. So. Absolutely, Carlos. It's all awesome in its own right. Checking everything out, we're getting a good full amount of different content, and we're all, learning about characters we may not have known about. Especially both Anna's and Jason's. Neither of them mentioned a character I've ever used at all, which is great. So, I get to learn about them as well. So, all right, Jason, you're up. What do you got?
Okay, well, let me name drop a little here. Now, I know we're looking at hidden gems, and
Sure.
I kind of consider Bigby to be kind of a hidden gem.
Oh, yes.
In the sense that he is so well known as a name, but so underused in publication.
Okay.
I mean, we get so much from Mordenkainen and really kind of so little from someone like Bigby. Now, in my campaign, Bigby, I am not a high level gamer. I run games where really once we hit the 10th, 11th level, that kind of peters out the game for me.
About the same.
So a lot of my game is low and mid level. Now, Bigby himself was sometimes inaccessible, but his familiar, I think Gareth was the name, is somebody we have in the campaign. I have had the players come deal with Bigby. I think the way that a lot of players ended up dealing with Mordenkainen, but on a very adventuring scale. So instead of this kind of world-shaking politics and involvement, Bigby wanted things done that were, kind of good for Bigby, and not necessarily things that were going to shape the Flyness, but they were various magical things and. Bigby was a big spell inventor in my game, with all the named spells that he had, and it was just wonderful. And one of the things that he would grant access to particularly helpful players were some of his experimental spells that may or may not have turned out well when they were actually used in the field. So Bigby became kind of a synonymous figure with kind of like a wild spell failures.
Hmm.
Oh, almost like a
So,
wild mage.
yes, at least in the kind of things he passed on to the player characters.
Wow.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's yeah,
so did he
it's awesome.
apprentice? Did he apprentice any of your characters?
No, he did not,
Okay.
and
Okay.
they were all kind of like contract workers for him.
Well, that's. I mean, you might as well have high level characters to have their dirty work done by lessers, right? And pay them. So basically, you ran your campaign in Greyhawk. Was it mostly in Greyhawk City of that group through Bigby?
Yeah, well, my campaigns over the last 40 years, they have not. They have been more discreet. They have not been a kind of contiguous adventure kind of that you've done. I've had 4 big campaigns that were multi-year, but nothing that lasted longer than 4.
Okay.
And one was centered around the city of Greyhawk, and one was centered in Verbonic. One was Geoff and the Hell Furnaces, and then the last one was Shieldland's Bandit Kingdom Horn Society.
Nice.
I have never really done much with the Great Kingdom.
Same here.
Yeah, I didn't do anything until I moved here and started mapping it, and I really realized this is dynamite. You can run lots of it here. So that's when I mapped the area. I ran a campaign that went on several years afterwards, and it ties into Bigby a bit because, according to a number of things, I think this is from Eva the Undying, and that actually Bigby is from Reldevin, from the Principality of Reldevin, and I placed him. I think that was something that was written. Someone wrote for the Living Greyhawk campaign that it actually come from the town of Rasfern, or the county of Rasfern and the town. So I made this something that never happened in the campaign, but it could potentially happen. There is a statue of Bigby on the square in Rasfern. And the funny thing is, if you insult the statue, it will punch you. So yeah.
That's pretty neat. So
Yeah, so it's a statue of Bigby that's on the square in Rasfern.
Very apropos for Bigby.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So here's another Bigby related question. Carlos Lysing asks about the Bigby's Tomb adventure. All versions, there are a few. Are they? Is that you guys consider that a canon? Um, I'm neutral on that, Carlos. It doesn't matter. I guess it's it depends on what you're doing in your campaign. How about you, Jason and Anna? What do you think on that one?
I'm not a believer in canon. I believe
Right.
in published or unpublished. So
Okay.
it's not something that really ties me down with anything.
Okay.
No, I'm very flexible personally, but I try to, with my public version of the map, to try and stay to things that are published but not necessarily canon, because I have a lot of things that are fan published but that I think add to the setting. So that's my general thing, that I don't want to, if something conflicts with published sources, then I don't put it there. But for my own campaigns, it's simply, if I like it better than the published, I tweak it a little bit, but I think I haven't tweaked my campaign out of away from it. I think most people that play, if they know Greyhawk, they will feel at home in my campaign too. So it's not that off, so to speak. I haven't taken away any major parts or anything that way, but.
All right, I'm going to bring up one
Mhm.
just because it's not one of mine, but I completely forgot. And David, she's one of the most evil characters in any adventure ever published, and that was Nuala, Ravager of Time. Ravager of Time is on my wall of fame. It's one of the 24 published modules we have on that wall. It is such a hideous, a hideous adventure. I mean, she drains your life at the beginning of it, puts you within a month of natural death, the entire party, and you got to figure out a way to get back your life, and you basically got to fight yourselves. It's a cool story. I mean, it's really, really one of those where it's like you just feel so like, I mean, it's a trog through something, and you're really fighting that. And I would say she's a memorable memorable NPC as far as evil antithesis goes. I would agree with you 100% on that one, David. Definitely. Oh, I love her too. I just don't want to run that adventure again. That's why it's up on the wall, so it's really nasty. So definitely. All right, Anna, what do you got?
I have another one from now. I'm digging into. I'm staying in the Great Kingdom here because this one I think is just like the Duke Sephrin. This is another one you can have as a master villain for a whole campaign arc, and it's Karulk. He was the Imperial Court mage in Rossi's for Ivid the fourth. I think that the last Ivid,
Okay.
and up until he was the last of the court mages, so to speak. He simply disposed of Sain. That was another one, or Sain, or how you said that was before. But Karulki is a disciple of. He's a devil disciple, and he is a wizard 18, and he was a lot of he was a lot of responsible for all the demise that and terrible things that happened to Rossi's. But he's kind of a capable, real asshole enemy that is kind of really cool to build as one of these master villains, so to speak. So Karulk is really, you can do a lot of cool things with him.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay. So this character is just mentioned, and it's funny. I was just going to say her name in passing. When you talk about the orbs, the black orbs of Eas, the orbs of golden death, if we ever see them, and a lot of that's talked about in Temple of Elemental Evil, and how there's like 3 of them, and then one of them was rumored to be stolen from right out of Eas's almost hands by this character called the Passing Shadow, and not much was written up. So we have our adventure group in the Vespi Forest, which we have at the Keep the Eagle's Nest. Bill has his character Eleanor there, and they had this high-level thief come up to them one day. Her name is Dominique. It turns out that Dominique is the Passing Shadow, and they didn't know it. But she's like hiding out in the keep up there and using that as her base because it's smack dab in the middle of the Vespi. So we took a very obscure, name of something that's mentioned off, and took it and ran with it. So the Passing Shadow, one of those. I'm not even sure who created the idea, but we just ran with it, and now that character exists up in there, and occasionally she comes through and holds up there, or she's actually going on an adventure or two with the group. So some neat things that you could tie in just from a mention in a storyline somewhere. So that would be one for me. Go ahead, Jason. What do you got?
Well, I'm not much one for recurring villains, but there's this character, and I suspect he's well enough known. He's a villain. He's Obmi the Dwarf. Now,
Oh,
he
yeah.
is somebody. He's somebody from the Gord novels where you find out quite a bit about him. But he's also an evil character in G3, the Fire Giants Hall. Now, for my campaign, he ended up plaguing my characters throughout the Underdark, from Fire Giant Hall all the way up to the Fane of Loth. They were chasing Obmi, and he ended up even being in the web of Loth, where there's all these the demon webs, where there are all these different worlds that you come in contact with, and that's actually where my first big campaign faded to nothingness as the players got distracted by all those alternate worlds. But it became more of the pursuit of Obmi than the death of Loth. But he was a favorite NPC villain, and it seemed like Gygax had a big thing in his heart for Obmi as well.
Yes. Yep.
He's mentioned in a lot of references, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I know your thing would show all of them, but I'm assuming that he's all over the place, which is good.
Yep.
And you're right. He probably had a soft spot for an
Yep.
evil dwarf, right?
But he's such a character in the Gord novels. Keek, his elven sidekick, is awesome too, but Obmi is fantastic. Yep.
Very good one, Jason.
Yep.
What do you think, Anna? What do you got?
I have something that is kind of partially published, partially my creation.
Okay.
That is kind of interesting because it's kind of it started out with Mike. I had a game group that wanted to go back to the Temple of Elemental Evil long after we had been there the first time. So they just wanted. It was after we had gone to Hamlet, and they wanted to go back when they were high level and go just take a peek at the old temple and see if there was something there. And so I realized I needed something iconic, some cool kind of enemy in there, so they got a good fight. So I put in a shadow dragon because I thought that was kind of a shadow dragon needed a cool lair, and I think an old abandoned evil temple is kind of a good place to hide out if you're a shadow dragon and you need somewhere to stay for a century or a decade or something. So I created Rishnal. I called her Rishnal, an old shadow dragon, and they had a fight. But the funny thing, they had I forgot which, it was one of the characters could cast Charm Monster, and it was like if she rolled like a 2 on her save or something like that, she will miss the save, and she rolled 1, so she missed the save. So they charmed her for the adventure. So they actually got her to help them a bit, and so they were so generous. So they gave her all the treasure they can find and something. So she was really pleased with them, so to speak.
A shadow dragon.
Yes, yeah. So
Wow.
they gave, because it was charming, and they treated her really well, royally well, and they handed over treasure and stuff to her. So she became really fond of them for a bit, and didn't trust them, but it was like having that kind of wild animal encounter kind of thing. But and then they went on their happy ways, and I was wondering what happened. And then I read that there was a shadow dragon that was recently moved into the Howling Hills to the let's see the location. I put it up here in one of the up here in Dringhus. That is one of the caverns in the Howling Hills. That there was a shadow dragon that was not named that moved in there, and to me it was like, that's perfect. That's my original that moved in there, and so that now in my campaign she's named. So that was so now she became that shadow dragon living up in the Howling Hills because she thought it was better pickings up there in the Ayus area, less adventurers, pesky adventurers to be there. So and those humanoids are easier to manipulate and to do what she wants, so to speak. And she's growing in power too. So yeah.
Great
So
connection.
she's staying up there. Yep. So that was that was kind of, I thought it was going to be a major battle, but it turned out to be a really fun evening anyway. So we had a lot of fun with it. It was fantastic fun.
Excellent. So Carlos brings up one in particular. And another one. You have Krista too, the street urchin. But the one I used this character in my adventure that we discussed last week that I did at PAX. Estrella from Greyhawk. So Carlos, and everyone knows she's like the diva of the Royal Opera House, but she's really a Greyhawk dragon. So and now I introduced 3 young players, and actually stopped by the game, was watching a little bit. I appreciated that, and
that was fun.
You said that was hard to find. I was just like,
oh yeah,
been here the whole time.
Really, yeah, but it was way down and over and away in a corner somewhere. So yeah.
But it was really cool watching the look on their faces when she turned into a dragon. So definitely Carlos. And Krista the street urchin is another one. And there's a lot of Mike says I'm a diva too. So yeah, and the City of Greyhawk box set, let's stay on this for mine. So the City of Greyhawk box set, I believe, is the best publication that they ever put out. That's my opinion. Let's start with, we're just going to use 5 characters all together, and that's the Fellowship of the Torch, which is a very detailed adventuring group in the Free City of Greyhawk box set. Now, I don't like what they did in the From the Ashes box set by killing one of them, and that's the gnome Grimmy Fisher. Particularly when this gnome Grimmy Fisher got along with the gnomes in the Iron Brigade, Alan's gnome and John's halfling always pal around with Grimmy, and I'm like, no, we're not going to have this character die off. That's another one. He's the one that has the rubber chicken as a joke, uses that, and all sorts of things. So Grimmy is a cool character, but I like Nastasia Ariani Nightstar, the leader of the Fellowship of the Torch. She's a really cool character, double class. is she a fighter mage or paladin mage? I think she's a fighter mage, but she's lawful good and has the Torch of Anaxander, which is a minor artifact, and the storylines behind all 5 of the characters in that group are very well written up in the box set, and they interact very well with our high level group, the Iron Brigade, and they work together. And you'll see them, sometimes together at the same inn talking, and that's how things. You use what you're given, and then you tailor it to your own campaign. And so they're active characters in my campaign, the entire Fellowship of the Torch, along with the Kurlan's Arrows, which none of them were named, and now I've named all those as well. So, and here comes our other Swedish friend in as Skagith
Oh,
is hosting.
Skagith.
Thank you, Skagith. Thank you so very much. You want a variety gaming streamer. He's the man for variety streaming. He does a lot of really neat stuff. So check out Skagith. There you are. And we haven't talked about a single monk tonight, Skagith, so you're safe.
No, exactly. Yeah,
No monks yet. So
No monks
we're
yet,
talking
yeah.
about some cool hidden gem NPCs. So Jason, what do you got for us this round?
Well, I wanted to say that I'm not big post Gygax material, but the City of Greyhawk, at least, it is such a wealth of characters.
Yes.
There's a strong difference of opinion in the Greyhawk community that I know between the city maps. They took the City of Greyhawk map and Malden really did a highly detailed version of it, and they started spelling that out in Living Greyhawk journals, especially number 2, which had a revised City of Greyhawk map. But the NPCs that you have in the City of Greyhawk, I think you've probably got the most in-depth coverage of NPCs and organizations in that box set.
Yeah.
It's a really a lot of material in between those 2 booklets. Now, I'm jumping back to a character you probably won't know because it's just a Gord character.
Okay, cool.
He is he's another villainous character, but you can use him again as I've used him as a kind of neutral stab in the back character, but maybe a little more obvious, is a character called Sigil Death or Sigil Dark. And he was a magician henchman of Arental, the oligarch and head of the Thieves Guild. And he is sent to look for information on, in the Gord books, there's a big thing about Tharisden and the multi-part key that will unlock him. And each part of the key is very powerful. And he is turned, I believe, to have to serve Neril by the high priest of Neril, who's out to get Gord. And so in the story, he is changed from being just the magical magician henchman of Arental to a servant of the Flam deity of death. And he was again such a inspirational character for me that he became pivotal in quite a number of adventures. The Thieves Guild and Greyhawk campaign, City of Greyhawk, are kind of synonymous for me. So when players are playing in Greyhawk, they run into Arental, and if they run into Arental, they're going to run into Sigil Dark. And just a really, and he's a sleazeball, so he was just such a good villain.
Yep.
Nice.
Fantastic. Yep.
So, does anything ever happen to him in a negative way, or is he still, like, if you were to run a campaign now, you still have him active?
For me, you have to understand. I've been playing for decades, and I'm just now getting into 579 CY. So in 40 years, my campaign's moved on about 3 years of game time. So
got it.
I also, I don't. since my campaigns break up and reform with new people, I reuse old material and old characters that were once dead are now
Sure.
alive. So he is such a good character. I certainly would, since I'm starting to branch into 5e. I am probably going to resurrect him and use him for a 5e 579 CY Greyhawk campaign.
Cool.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that, man. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. New generation will be exposed to that. Hey, Carlos, see you, man. I know you got to roll. And we'll talk to you later on. Thank you for participating in this discussion tonight.
See you, Carlos.
Yep. And you said it was your nephews, correct? You were going to start, really getting into with them, and that's great. That's absolutely.
Yeah, my eyes are shot, so he's doing index work for me, and I think he's learning a little DMing. But he really wanted me to run Greyhawk for his group.
That's exciting. That a new
that's
generation
wonderful.
wants to experience Greyhawk. That's
Yep.
awesome. And you got all that source material, man. Your problem's going to be where you start them, because you got so much. You know. So
I know, and I'm going with. I really liked what they did with Ghosts of Saltmarsh, so I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Get them right into it, and you can always throw some old school stuff that you have in that area that's not in those publications. So, absolutely. And speaking of that, guys, if you do not know this already, Wednesday night's Legends and Lore is titled Saltmarsh Then and Now. So I popped that up. So we're gonna have we have two guests scheduled. One of them is on now. He's probably listening and lurking. So we're gonna have Will. Yeah, definitely. I like how I do that. I'm always prepared. And Malapik, thank you so very much for this following. It's going to pop up here. Will from Return to the Banded Kingdoms Wicked Studios just finished up his Saltmarsh campaign. He's continuing some new stuff in that area. So I want to get his experiences on what he did. Mike is really into 5e, Greyhawk, Saltmarsh. And then Brian, there you are. Yes, whenever you can get on, Brian, was going to talk about his campaign, which is 5e, Greyhawk, but is not. It's based in the area around Saltmarsh and what he has done.
Very close to it. Yep.
Yeah, and it is. Anna's seen it. Anna's played in the part, so as Will. So here's his connections, guys. You want to check him out on the Obsidian Portal. It's very detailed stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about on our next Legends and Lore. So that was a good tie-in there. Thank you for that tie-in, Jason, unbeknownst. So that was awesome. Anna, what you got one for us?
Yeah, let's stay go back to City of Greyhawk again, and to the Saga of Old City and the Gord books, because I was afraid, Jason, that you were going to pick the next little villain that I want to really plug from the books, especially from the first book, and that is Theobald, the guy that runs the beggar thief guild that is starting the war with. Then he recruits Gord and he starts a war against the Real Thief Guild, and it's an awesome conflict that is actually written down and illustrated in the books, and I think he's a perfect master villain for a low to mid-level campaign that is kind of and some of the shady characters he has around him and stuff. So it's fantastic. He's kind of a really classic villain in many ways, and I'm not going to spoil too much what happens to him in the books, but it's an awesome. So if you read Saga of Old City, Theobald will be a good role model for a low to mid-level master villain that you can introduce when the characters are just players are started with first level characters. You can kind of introduce them and keep him there. So yeah.
Alrighty, so I'm going to go off the beaten path on this one. I'm going to go to the Slavers reference.
Oh.
Yeah. And this guy, I'm going to be using when we do eventually use a lot of our Narwhal. I love the ideas. There's a Slavers reference, one of my favorite ones of all time. And let me get his picture up here. This guy is an evil bastard, but fits perfectly for the area and the time frame. Let me see. He should be coming up here. There we go. And that is a good old Hendred Blerid, a priest of Hextor, who has the community of Wyvern. It's only a population of 180, but he has these couple of, and you can see in the picture behind him the evil gnomes he has that are his like assassins that keep the town in check. But he loves painting the walls red with orc blood. So to keep, and it's one of the few towns that has pushed back every orc attack in the area, with the Wild Coast being the way it is now. So I kind of like an evil anti-hero character like this. So guarantee you down the road in the Narwhal campaign, we're gonna use that one and tie him in. Once again, he's right in the Slavers reference, and there's a lot of great a lot of the pictures in there, and I just to talk about that are all Wayne Reynolds, WAR. And I asked him where the original artwork for all this was when I saw him at Gen Con for that Slavers. And it was one of the first things he ever did for him. And he said it was all lost. And I was like, it killed me when he said that, because I would have bought some of them to have them. But, because it's one of my favorite publications of all time. It was a shame. But that would be one for me. It's a very obscure one, but a cool one nonetheless. So what do you got, Jason? You got another one for us?
Oh yeah, sure. I just wanted to say, like, for what you're bringing up, Slavers, it's interesting. That is one of the, of course, very later day but heavily detailed publications that came out, and it's still one I don't think that they have on PDF. I know I just grabbed the Scarlet Brotherhood, but Slavers, I think, is one of these. Yeah,
falling apart.
Wear that one apart.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to say about what Anna was talking about with Theobald, is that there is such a cast of characters. There's these this entire crew of beggars, and they're such handy little NPCs to pull out.
Yeah.
Now, for another, now I would say, see, I'm getting more and more that aren't hidden gems, and I'd like to stick away with that.
It's okay.
Clavdra was such a big character for me, but she's so well known, and
we can have this discussion on Clavdra if you want.
Yeah, and I can tie into that later.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just for my campaign, I really. My very first DMing campaign that just kind of launched into years-long campaigning was I ran as a player for the G series, but we were switching back and forth. And when the D series came out, I happened to be the one who bought them, so I ran them as the DM, and it became such a long campaign that went over years. That Clavdra was such a pivotal figure, because the way I ran it was a great civil war through the Vault of the Drow, and then through all these Drow communities. And she was just like this Drow. Almost becoming the Drow queen there at one point, and she was just somebody who my characters, the players, never ran into but always heard of. And she was always being the one that was always, like, at first a step ahead of them, but then she kind of just progressed out of their reach.
Did you have her as an Elder Elemental guide against Loth? Or did you have her as a Loth?
Oh, certainly. I was all into the Elder Elemental.
Awesome. So I know Anna does not, but that's okay.
I haven't really dug that deep into the Pomar, so I haven't really thought about if I want to use it or not. So yeah.
I loved, and Jason, I loved that because it was different. It wasn't just like it was like, wow, there's strife going on down there, and in the tentacle rods, which were only the Elder Elemental God worshippers have them. So a lot of our player characters have killed those factions. We still have that to this day. We still have the 8 houses that are down there to this day fighting. with all the alliances and stuff, and you have, the Kill Six fighting, Alaval and fighting all, we use that. We use D3 is basically a campaign setting for all that going on in our adventuring. So I'm glad to see that someone else has done that too. And but it just depends on what publications you're using. A lot of people know Clavra as the highest priestess of Loth, right? Because of the changeovers and things that they've done, and that's where Annis has it that way, which is fine. It's just, but it's different. But I'm glad to see that there's someone else that has it as the Elder Elemental God, which is cool. So good one. Good one. So Anna, what do you got?
Let's tie into Eclavdra.
Sure.
It's kind of cool. I used her too in both in an Underdark campaign I used, and also she played a part because she kind of worked for IUs for a while and was kind of tied in, and because she plays some really cool parts in the Gord books, where she works for Suktmoy and IUs, and she's one of their master villains, so to speak. So I wanted to deepen the thing, and I also wanted, because I was starting to use Vuron a bit too much, so I needed a sidekick to Vuron, and I wanted something that ties into the setting. And I realized that IUs is the love child of Grast and Igvild. And I was thinking, let's see, Grast, he looks like the demon lord that wants to go out and screw around with most things that look beautiful and interest him, so to speak. So he doesn't hold back. So I realized that El Clavdra is the perfect candidate. So Grast and El Clavdra had a love child that I named Zestra, and she's IU's half sister, and she's a Drow Cambion, half Drow, half Cambion. So she's kind of an interesting character that way. And I also based her a little bit on, in the Gord book, there is a clone of El Clavdar that's called Lida that hangs
Cool.
out with hangs out with Gord a lot, and that clone has a lot of good sides to it. And my sister is not good by any stretch of the imagination, but she's not thoroughly evil because she was raised by Vuron, and Vuron is more inquisitive than evil, so to speak. He's more interested in the game and more knowledgeable. So she became wise and smart and so on and so forth. So she is Vuron's sidekick and goes on missions to find out facts and stuff, and she wants to earn a bit on the side, so she acts as an assassin on the side because she's damn skilled at a lot of things. She's like a ranger, rogue kind of thing with demonic abilities and stuff, and she's really high level, so she's kind of kick-ass in a lot of stuff. So she's kind of this kind of skulky master villain kind of character, and she's been in and out of my campaigns as well, and it took years before the players actually knew that it was one thing and who she was, because she was very elusive and stuff. So that, and I played her in one of Jay's adventures back in like a year.
I've used her.
Yeah.
I've used her
Mhm.
basically almost as a bounty hunter style character, appearing in chasing a mage
Yep.
in the first level adventures we did on at Winchester's Bulwark. She has appeared a
Mhm.
couple times.
Yep, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So she's
definitely.
yeah, so that's something I tied in that is my own creation, but I tried to base it into the campaign so it has a lot of tie-ins, more than one tie-in, so to speak. So I tried to do that with the NPCs and the villains and stuff that I use. I want them to feel right at home, so they belong to the story.
It's creating a character like that is a good feeling, especially when once again, she fits into the anti-hero kind of realm, right?
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know,
Mhm.
which it's not the good versus evil struggle
No, she's
in
not
this case.
particularly interested in that dimension. And I want a few things, a few NPCs that are not one or the other, so to speak. And Vuron and Zestra fall into that. They can help the adventurer sometimes, and sometimes they can thwart them, and all of a sudden, and they can be absolutely ruthless if need be, because they have no moral qualms about anything, but they're not overly evil, but certainly have evil tendencies. And it's also something that if I have a bad day as a GM and want some anger management, it's a perfect NPC to have, because you can go on a murdering hobo spree a bit if you want to, you want to get rid of things. So yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go back to our City of Greyhawk box set for my next one.
Oh,
Actually, it's going to be two of them, because we're going to talk about guild masters. All right, and the one thing I love about this is there's every guild you could freaking think of that's in this book.
yeah, they're listed one
oh,
after the other on mass, so to speak. It's
absolutely.
potters and linters and lamp makers and whatever it is. It's like there's a whole bunch of them.
What a great
Mhm.
what a great reference. So two of them. The Guildmaster of the Night Watchman, Sir Garvin Ambus, is a very, very stout individual. I love the Night Watchmen. I love what they're about, and they have Dark Men, which are.
Have you read this book?
I have not read that book, and I've heard that book
Yeah.
is not.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's Greyhawk, but it's not Gygaxian Greyhawk.
Gygaxian,
Yeah,
right.
it's made. It is Robin Wayne Bailey wrote it, and it's about a
100
night
years.
watch.
100 years later.
Yeah, I think Alan and I were talking about that. I think he worked it out to about 100 years after 576.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So that's what I thought. I thought it was a little different,
so
but it's okay.
yeah. If you want to read something about, and I think since it's a night, he's a night watchman and he goes on his duty, so it's a little bit like a crime story police novel. It's set in Greyhawk.
Well, what I love about Garvin, and then my second one, which is really I kind of used him once again at PAX, was Selzik Ubayuk, the Guildmaster of the Gravediggers and Embalmers, and he's a half orc, and both of them have deputy guildmasters that are player characters. So Walt has Alphonse, who's the second in command of the Night Watchman, and Bill has Salen, who's the deputy commander of the Gravediggers and Embalmers Guild, the Cleric Necromancer. So, and I love just doing the interaction between them. And Selzik's very brash and very, did I stuff your uncle last week? And he's talking to people, and he loves, in my campaign, he loves cheesecake for some reason. That's his like sweet tooth, and he, but it's just a good way to have player characters interact with the NPCs. So there's a lot of guild masters in these books, so you can always look them up. And if there's not named, like if you're doing like a certain one, if there's not one name, make one up. Make a guild master up and here and utilize them. And especially Greyhawk City Adventuring is so rich in detail because of all the references you have. So that'll be the ones I would talk about this next time. So, all right, Jason, what do you got?
I got such a big laugh when I heard you on that adventure with where Anna was there, where you're bringing up Selznick, because I use Vincent Price as my basis for him. Did you ever see that movie, House of Wax? Waxworks with Vincent Price, and I think it's Charles Bronson as his mute assistant.
Okay.
It's a classic picture, and I just have I because when you brought him up, that's just what I pictured. I know you've got a different version of him, but
it's okay. That's funny because like gave yourself a smile, right?
Yes, I do use things from the later editions. I'm not all trying to be a Gygax purist, but that's one of the ones I did like. It's why I bring up the City of Greyhawk box set, because it is chock full of decent and well-written NPC characters and organizations. And Selznick's definitely, he is, he is another one that is just so key, especially for me for low-level adventuring.
Okay.
And there got to be a kind of Burke and Hare situation going on in a very early part of the campaign where there was this they were purchasing bodies for experimentation at the Grey College. And the characters were going out and working for Selznick to obtain material for him. And, it became, very much, like that Burke and Hare, where they were going to get the freshest cadavers they could. So I would say yes, like if you're bringing up a character, I would say Selznick is probably one of the most key characters for me for low-level adventuring in Greyhawk.
Nice, nice. Because you can do a lot in the sewers too with that. You know.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Just we found a connection. We found a great connection there. And Bill's cleric necromancer is he's just a chaotic neutral. Oh, he's afraid of his own shadow for the most part, and a lot of things. But he's there, and he's the one that put the crown of Ruggiero Bloodmoon in my campaign on, and became the megalomaniac fool. Said he was going to take over all of Greyhawk in the world. It just sometimes it happens to the meekest of characters, but it's great. He's a great tie-in to a lot of things going on in Greyhawk on that Seedier side, which is cool. Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, I forgot to show
sure.
one of the Gord books before we go
Yeah.
on, and it's the Dance of Demons. That's the one that is it's fantastic. It's kind of the plot gets a bit tedious and stuff, but I love the interaction with the Netherworld and when Grast is supposed to keep when he's trying to keep track or keep all his demon lords that he's allied with and trying to keep them in order, and the court in the abyss. It's gorgeous. That is fantastic. It's awesome. So I just love that power struggle.
So
that is good from
I gotta really get some of these books. I really.
Oh
do
yeah,
like
you
us
have to.
reading them.
It's fantastic. So those are if they're not so much on Greyhawk, then he's down all over the multiverse and stuff. But these are some of these kind of uber lords and gods and demon lords and stuff that are kind of depicted, and you get to Kostitche, that is just the one with that enormous warhammer or mace, whatever it is, and he just wants to kill things. And he's awesome when he goes off on a tangent and a rant all of a sudden, and they have to calm him down. And it's fantastic. It's great. They're like a super uber adventuring party with someone who's going off the rails constantly. So highly recommended.
David, you had a question. It's called the Sewermen's and Street Cleaners Union. Now they have a special group within it called the Sewer Rats. It's a division made up of the toughest gnomes and dwarves between 2nd and 5th level, and they are so they are in the sewers all the time. They're not, they're taking care of all the menaces down there. So yeah, definitely, it's right in the book here. So just wanted to give you that information. So besides Selznick, Jason, you got any other really cool ones you like in Greyhawk? Right in that city?
Well, in the city itself, let me think. I used one of the. I'm trying to remember his names though. I used one of the NPCs to be actually a reincarnation or a avatar of Zagig, who he was a rather haughty little wizard in one of the Knight Errant stories. But I don't have his name at hand. I was just thinking about what Anna was saying though. Those last couple Gord books. If you want to do NPCs from the devils and the demons and from those are like prime source books. They really are. I mean, it's besides being a list, and that is one of the big things about those books is that I'm not looking at them as like, straight narrative fiction. This is a great read. The atmosphere is just so he covers the way Greyhawk should feel. And it's such a wealth of reference material, but it's also a wealth of the atmospherics to give you an idea of how Greyhawk could feel, and it's just absolutely amazing. Now out of the city, let me see. Well,
it doesn't have to be.
There are some characters that pass in and out. One was I'm trying to think of his name. He was the chief priest of Neril, and while there was not, Greyhawk is an evil city. Neril, the big thing was that the Neril they were going after Gord, So in those stories, it's a little more highlighted. And he ended up being a powerful villainous force, but no one my players ever, they never met him in battle directly, but they met his minions all the time.
Yep.
They do a couple 3-stage characters in the back. Is it Andrade Mirius? It's a patriarch or neural, and they have him as a 11th, 14th, and 18th level priest. I was wondering if it was he.
I think it starts. I think he's in this book, if I remember correctly.
But I was wondering if they did any crossovers with that stuff. But it's definitely a spot where it's so rich with stories and subplots and all sorts of other things. I'm going to mention another one now that I used. Once again, I used this character at PAX Unplugged, and this is the one. She tried to lure one of the neutral characters in the group, and one of the I think it was one of the 15-year-old kids who was playing Tom McCoy, and that's Karain Mandare, and she is a priestess of Erythnol who hangs out at Old Mother Grubbs. Now, if anyone knows, Old Mother Grubbs is strewn with vampires right now. In some campaigns, it's been burned to the ground. This was a rehash of an old adventure, so I could have used Karain Mandare again, and she's always doing bidding on behalf of all the other evil groups that are out there, in particular Cult of the Shriven Sickle, Old Mother Grub herself. And so I use this priestess of, she used to talk to Salen all the time and tell Salen, you're destined for great things. And it would scare the shit out of Salen that this priestess of Erythnol that he didn't even know. Right, Bill, if you're on, was saying, was telling how great he was going to be in the future. And she's in these books. She's right in the Old Mother Grub section. Another cool NPC you can throw. And I tend to not make her straight out doing evil things, but kind of like a facilitator, because I didn't want her being slaughtered off early on. So she was not out there causing havoc. She was doing it in another underhanded way. So, yeah, definitely some fun stuff. So let's open it up to free-for-alls there. If you got one, throw it out there, Jason. Throw it out there, Anna. Let's just we'll rapid fire it for the final 15 here, and then we'll do some announcements.
I have one that was one of my own creation. This is one. It ties into Prince Ferdinand, the necromancer vampire that lives in Black Splinter. I invented his gardener and kind of backdoor that keeps it a gardener. And when you have a swamp and you're a necromancer vampire, then you can't have an ordinary gardener. So he hired Ishma. She's a hag. She's a night hag that has some, and she runs a little inn. She calls it an inn with her cabal of other green hags and normal various hags and anises and stuff. So she has her gardeners. So they go around and make sure that the swamp is cozy and has the right plants and animals and all that stuff in it. And she runs an inn, and that inn is not really an inn, but you can stay overnight if you want to. And they sell various, if you are interested in poisons and herbs to kill things with or use as spell components and stuff, it's the perfect location. And so Ishma was it was awesome. And one of the neighbors they have next door is Ratukash, a black dragon. So they're kind of that's Prince Ferdinand's backyard. And Ishma, we had so much fun when we ran Ishma and her cabal and running that in, and with all the nefarious characters that was in. It was like the Star Wars, the bar at Tatooine kind of scenario with there was like 30 different ones in there, and the characters came in and they were kind of terrified, but they want to earn money, and because Ferdinand is not paying her enough, and she's also bored being out there in the swamp, so she needs entertainment, money, and characters to put in her soup. So things, if you don't pay you and you look cute enough, then you end up in the soup and being eaten.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so don't ask where the food comes from, but it's that kind of in. But we had a lot of fun with Ishma, or that was awesome, and yeah, so we had some And she has an Annis with barbarian levels. That's her bouncer that kicks out people out of the, if you mess up and they want to throw him out. It's an Annis that has barbarian levels, and she's real. Yeah, I forgot her name, but it was, yeah, that place was a real. It was awesome. We had so much fun at that place.
Annises are nasty without even having barbarian
Oh
levels.
yeah.
attached
She had
to
a
'em,
but it
so
was a high level campaign, so she had a couple of barbarian levels just so she
nice.
could get angry and literally start steaming and get angry around it too, and then punch out. So yeah, so we had a lot of fun at that location.
So what do you got, Jason? You got some others for us?
Well, let me jump over from Greyhawk to Verbonic, and that was always like a very key place for me because
Yeah.
my very first campaigns were kind of Greyhawk, but they were from B1, was Quasquetan, and but we jumped right away over to the village of Hamlet when that came out, and so we had to flesh it out. Now, when they came out with Temple of Elemental Evil, my players saved Thrommel, and Thrommel became a major NPC. We loved Thrommel. We loved Count Wilfric, the Viscount of the Verbabank, and so Thrommel, in my campaign, he ends up falling in love with the Viscount's daughter, and in 579 they're going to be married, and the Viscount is now looking for a new heir because he only had the one daughter in my campaign. So I've actually on my blog, you can see a lot of the write-ups on different campaign things I've done. Introduced a military organization in Verbonic called the Verbonic Lancers, and really just I'd say Thrommel is becoming Thrommel is one of the leading characters in my campaign, and I know that what is he in the later campaign? Is he slain? Is he lost? Is
He's
he
turned into a
madman?
vampire, man. And that revisit to Temple of Elemental Evil. He was free to mine too, and he became king of Friundi in mine. So yeah, I'm glad to see that, Jason. That you utilized him after he was pulled out of there. It's good, definitely. So I mean, he actually interacts with characters.
Yes, in a way. At this point, he's not as likely to. The Viscount interacts much more since he's just the lord of a much smaller little province, city, state kind of thing. The city of Verbabank is so small when you compare it to other cities.
Right.
I think it's just about 15,000 population. So he's much more likely to have a one-on-one with characters than somebody like Thrommel, unless you're dealing with higher level PCs. And I just don't tend to run that high level
Okay.
game.
It's good to see though that you ran with it once he was brought back into the campaign. It seems like a lot of times he just disappears, or as in Mike Celestian's, he gets killed every time. The player characters kill him. They think he's a vampire. I mean, it's a great trap. I mean, having him there, definitely. So that is cool. Nice one, very nice one. All right, so I'm going to go to one that's not published source. It's semi-published source because I love this reference so much, and I've talked about it a lot of times. Bastion of Faith. Okay, this came out, had specialty priests for Heronius and Hexter in here. It says places you could place the Bastion of Faith, the Citadel, and I placed it right at Crit Wall. And I needed to flesh out the Knights of Holy Shielding, so I picked a lot of key characters out of this, and I have pictures going through of a bunch of them here. Now, I also have references of ones that came from the Holy Shielding Living Greyhawk pictures, like Franz Torkeep. These four came from that dungeon article. So Franz Torkeep, Inkasi, Leominda Ireland, and then Lady Katarina Walworth, who we use as one of the three rulers. But then I added more from this Bastion of Faith, and this is like a great reference if you're looking for good versus evil in that Shieldlands area. So I added Let's see if I can have them scroll through now. So I have Mother Annan. She's a high level priestess. And then I have Mother Phala. She's a little bit lower level. She interacts with lower level characters. And then I have like the enforcer, the main enforcer of the Order of Holy Shielding now, Templar Lugo, who's like a super high level paladin. So I incorporated all them into my Knights of Holy Shielding. Some cool NPCs to interact with player characters in that realm. You may see some of them in our, once again, in our Trials of the Legion mega series of adventures we're going to run in 2020. So they'd be some for me. So, all right, guys, what do we got here? We got, about 10, 15 minutes left of discussion. So, got any other ones you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I have another Archmage that I want to plug a little bit. And if you're up against IUs, there is one I think that hasn't got enough coverage that is kind of a cool one. It's Archmage Null. and he's kind of cool. He's a bit like IU's R&D manager or chief. He does a lot of research, come up with cool magic items and stuff. So he's kind of an interesting villain that could be, and maybe even hire the adventuring party secretly to go out and find components for his whatever, and or they might end up being part of his experiments and all sorts of scary stuff. So he's kind of he's interesting from a mechanical kind of and creepy way. He's like I use Dr. Mengele in a way. Could be,
definitely.
or yeah, he could play a lot of different roles that way that are not the normal villain, so to speak. So he's kind of interesting. I like him. So he's kind of cool. Yeah.
The Eyes of Evil's reference talks about a story where he's creating a zombie. When it gets destroyed, it explodes in an acid storm around a 20, 30-foot radius. But he's having trouble with it because it still explodes when there's priests of Ayus around it. So they're trying to figure out how to stop it from doing that. So I love the stories in that Eyes Deaver's reference about all the greater and lesser Boneheart, and that he's one of them in there. Definitely.
Yeah, he's kind of cool, and he felt that he didn't want to be a higher ruler of an area because he wasn't up to it, and it's kind of cool. He feels he's not the like I'm bigger than the universe kind of villain. He's kind of an interesting that way, and he also survived and was simply elevated just because he didn't screw up any particular way, so to speak. So he was simply promoted just because the other one screwed up more than he did. So yeah. So it's kind of it's
good one. Very good one. Because usually get the high priestesses over the mage in that discussion.
Yeah, and I kind of like the high wizards as arch villains are kind of interesting that way.
I guess Raries would not be considered a hidden gem. Everyone knows that Raries a bad guy.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
So, Jason, what do you got there winding down a little bit here? You've come up with some unbelievable ones. I really appreciate you hopping on tonight. Hope you're having a blast doing this.
I'm having a great time.
Good.
For me, I kind of shy away sometimes from the bigger names in Greyhawk. So like Vecna, Acerak. One NPC that I've been developing into a very big heavy in my campaign is Slariton. And he's the last Archmage of the Sul. Now, for years now, I've been having my characters, the players, run into these various old outposts or strongholds or strange research kind of facilities of the Sul. And one thing that they're just starting to piece together is that it all leads back to Slariton. Now, when he sealed off the passages, now I love the suggestion of using Jacques' Caverns of Thracia with the lost passage of the Sulese. And it ties in kind of with what I've been doing is making Slariton, he, in my campaign, is he is a kind of a demigod lich, and he is behind this resurgence of these vast undead powers from the Lost Imperium. And there's a little bit of it in the end of the story on Nasra that I wrote. There's a bit of it in another story that I wrote first as a fan novel called Unsung Death in Geoff. And but it's also in part of the adventures I've been working on. But no, Slariton, he's just, for me, he's like a name to conjure with, and he is going to be, for my campaign, the a very active big bad that is getting ready to rock the Flyness.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
I'm
that's awesome. Takes some
Yeah.
ancient history. It's great.
Can I ask what level he is?
He's in my campaign. He's just beyond level. They're
20,
not. It's kind
whatever.
of like
Okay.
wrestling Odin for his
Yeah.
spear. It's just not going to happen.
Okay. Okay. Nice. All right, Anna, you want me to do the two you've been waiting for?
Oh yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
this
yes.
is per Anna's requests, guys.
Yes. Yep.
All right.
Now I have to be. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I.
That's
resist.
okay.
Yeah.
There's a picture of them.
resist.
I actually painted them
yes.
myself.
Yeah.
So, going back years, we had Tim's Wizard of It adventure, which Lord Gazumba and Hawk ran, two of my player characters, with Fensick and Leuven, two of Tim's NPCs. And came across three people, a Weasley little human and a bugbear and a goblin. And for some reason, they got the names of crap, basically. One's named Poo Poo, one's named Kaka, right? And this is probably 1984. So I went one step further. I'm like, I love that these guys aren't evil, that they're kind of like, are mercs for hire. So when we formed Altamira, I was like, that's where they're going to go. So one's a goblin fighter, he's 8th level, and the bugbear is a 8th level bounty hunter, which we have as a class, and they work out of the Altamira Bounty Hunters Guild, which is basically the only bounty hunters guild really in the whole world, because that's one of the classes that we have. So I did an adventure a few weeks back, and I showed them in the working with the Bounty Hunters Guild. But they're like the best of friends, and everyone knows that bugbears and goblins get along together, where bugbears don't like hobgoblins and hobgoblins don't like goblins, right? But for some reason, bugbears and goblins get along. But the funny thing is Kaka the bugbear, he doesn't speak anything but bugbear. So the goblin talks to him, but then relays it to everyone else. He just grunts a lot. But if you talk to him a bugbear, he sounds very eloquent speaking. He's got 12 intelligence, which is pretty high for a bugbear. So, and it's a good group. It's a fun group. It's
the way you talk about them. They're so much fun.
It's a fun group of two characters that I utilize, and they got some pretty good items, and they're both true neutral.
Yeah, you play them a couple of times. I think that come up in the adventures, and that was so much fun.
And it's one of Tom's favorites too. Tom loves them as well too. So whenever we do anything with the bounty hunters, they are the best track. Kaka's like one of the best trackers there is. So he's got special pluses on it. And all.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
He won't lose a track. So they're the trackers for when hard. It's kind of like the Lord Baltimore of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He can track anywhere. So it's cool. But I appreciate you asking me to bring them up. So I figured I would bring those two up and discuss them real quick here. We have a lot of characters like that. I know.
You have to have minis of these two.
Oh yeah.
They were. They were.
Here you go. I'll swing right to them again, Jason. They're right up here. Oh, absolutely. Here we go. I actually
that makes it even cooler because the miniatures are awesome too.
Yeah. That's Blade, Whistler. Oh, there you go.
There you go. Yeah, they are.
There they are. Yep. Yeah, I painted them
when I saw the miniatures and realized it was them, and you would talk about them in the adventure.
And
those are awesome.
It's kind of the humorous part of the game. You don't want to be completely serious all the time.
That was something that would be out of a Disney movie as an animated movie, as a wonderful little sidekicks or a couple. So they made the game a lot more fun.
Yeah, it's fun having them involved, and everyone likes them. So so we'll do last round of characters. Have you got someone you've been holding off on?
Oh damn,
Anna, Jason. Let's throw them up there, guys. Thanks for all your input out there too, as well. I really appreciate it. This has been a great one from the audience, giving us a lot of input, a lot of questions, and I appreciate it.
I have any? Now I'm getting. Well, it would be the one that I've used extend. Now we're back to my Rel Devon campaign. Is Prince Carvin of Rel Devon. That was
Okay.
the ruler of a country that I used, and I fleshed out his courtroom, and we had a lot of court intrigue, and that the characters got tied in. And he's good, but he has to maneuver under an evil, or at least subvertly evil, overking. But he's damn smart, and so on. So he was a very interesting. It was a ruler that didn't want to overtly help the party, but secretly he did, and then he had to keep a facade that he didn't. And it took a while for the players to figure out that they were actually not in so much disfavor at the court as they thought. And that was a lot of fun to try and portray a medieval court, so to speak. And that so Prince Carvin was a lot of fun, and detailed the city of Rel Devon. So if you can take a ruler and make them more than statistics and flesh and bone, and kind of have them implement policy and have the characters be part of it and stuff, that was a lot of fun. So that was the first time I actually did a lot of court RP and assassinations and parties and these gala diplomatic stuff and like costume dramas and it was we had some good sessions doing it. Yeah.
Nice. So, Greyhawk Mike Bridges asked a question that I think I know the answer with Jason, because it's future publications, and you weren't an East Side map person like I was. But do we have any NPCs that are Scarlet Brotherhood members?
We
I
have
don't, because I don't. I
don't
kept
remember.
them on that side of the map.
Yeah, but the Scarlet Brotherhood is an awesome book or booklet. It's
Yeah.
not a hardcover, it's a soft cover.
Yeah, it's just
and
like
it has
Slavers,
a
yeah.
bunch of them. Yeah, and they are the elder brother or elder sister or stuff. And now Skaggis will go after me because a lot of monks and stuff now.
Yes.
Yeah, so but there are some cool ones, but me and my games have never really touched them. They played a small part in my Rel Devon campaign, especially in the court dramas, because they were trying to get their way in, and the characters kind of accidentally stepped in their way, so to speak. So they were these that confused the plot, but those were just minor things. But so I read through and it's one of the best source material for Greyhawk, in my opinion. One of the really good ones.
Very cool, Mike. I just never utilized them just because I had enough baddies going on, and I just wanted them to stay over on the other side of the map.
They've been out of my scope most of the time.
How about you, Jason?
Well, not from published sources. In the fan novel that I wrote, The Hill Giant Chief Nazareth Saga,
right?
Two of the characters are twin brothers, and they happen to be members of the Scarlet Brotherhood.
Nice.
They're both monks, but the people in the party don't realize that. They think they're regular fighters. And then as the story goes along, the reader should recognize the abilities of these characters to be the monk's martial arts abilities. But they're actually a pair of members of the Scarlet Brotherhood who've been snuck into the party that is going after Nasra. So, they're the closest I've done to running Scarlet Brotherhood.
Hey, that's awesome that you put them in that, though. I mean, that's neat.
Well, they were actually in a game I was playing where the DM inserted them in as NPCs to stab us in the back later on.
And you took it and ran with it, which is awesome. So I know you're having trouble linking back and forth, but if you can, Jason, at some point before the end of the show, please link in your site onto. I got to get a shout out for you. I'll get a shout out programming to mine too. I will get that for you. But please, when you get a chance, link whatever you want into chat. Definitely. So and that gives you. Do you have any others? Others you want to discuss, Jason? Are you pretty much tapped out at this point?
I have one little short one that is not really an NPC because it's more a monster, but it was kind of a cool thing I came up with. That was also during the Rel Devon campaign. I had a little village. It was just a little hamlet, basically like 8 houses or something, but a poor little outplace that was just along the road, and I wanted some cool encounter. And before then, the Duke Zephyrin and his entourage of animuses and undeads and whatnot had been there. And so one of the cats, one of the houses was very inquisitive. So and brave. So that little cat came out and kind of interacted and got the bug and got an abyssal template on it, because it was simply the influence, and they wanted to kill it, but the cat made it safe. So I simply said it got the abyssal, and then it took the cat to its head. So afterwards, when Zephyrin and the other ones disappeared, the cat realized, I can rule the village,
Oh my
because
gosh.
it raised the intelligence to like 5 or something like that, and got him some abilities. So the cat influenced and basically became the villain that ran the village and scared the bejesus and did all sorts of nasty things. So when the characters came in, they saw there were murdered people, there were some terrified people, and talk about a monster, whatever. And then there was this cute little cat going around that they didn't realize until a while later there was actually a cat that was the villain that have caused it all. And that was one of the that I just threw in there on the spur of the moment, so to speak. And we had a lot of fun with it. And the cats could communicate telepathically and stuff. So that was kind of fun. And it was immune versus a whole bunch of stuff too. So it was one nasty cat that was black, of course. And so we had some fun with that.
Yeah, it's almost like Planet of the Apes with cats. That's
Yeah,
kinda
exactly.
scary.
And the cat could actually cast the spell that make people idiots, so to speak. So he basically turned the village
Feeble minds?
into exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So enfeebled the village, so to speak. So it made them all idiots,
Ah.
yeah. So they were like blurbing if they were
Oh,
not
that's funny.
terrified. So yep. So that was kind of. Yeah.
Thank you
That's
very much for that.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good one, David. Thank you for linking that as well to talking about Alice Martin. She's in the
Yep.
my first publication up here. All right, Jason. So what do you got to close out for us here?
All right. Well, this is one of my favorite NPC villains, and I was sorry to see Carlos go because it's Marquesa
Oh yeah.
from the A
yes.
series. Now I
Yeah.
know Carlos has a big thing for Marquesa,
Mhm.
big place in his heart,
Yes.
and she is such a she has such character. She's such a wonderful villain.
Mhm.
And it is probably the one of the crowning things of the A series is A2, where you do encounter Marquesa. You know the A series is such it's such a strange bundle there that you get out of it, and I think the probably the best depth that you find in it is A2, and then of course you run into the wonderful Aerolotus drawn slave lords. But really, Marquesa is the one whose character comes out so strongly, and she is somebody you want to save and bring out again at a later date.
Yeah.
Mhm.
True.
Yeah, I think that's Carlos makes an adventure every year with Marquesa. She has Marquesa Die, Marquesa Forever. Yeah, it's whatever they named it. I played in one of them at GaryCon last year, and it was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I have them, and I'm sitting on them for maybe a possible future use down the
Mhm.
road too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I'll say, yeah, she is really a nasty character.
Mhm.
Absolutely,
Yep.
just about as evil as they come.
Mhm.
So to close out mine, I'm going to go back to Greyhawk, and I'm going to go and I got multiple pictures of her just because of our relationship with our adventuring group. And I don't know if she's a hidden gem or not, but I think she kind of is because she has no spells that are named after her, and that's Jalarzi. You know, I really love Jalarzi Salivarian as a character. I just she's good aligned. You know, like I said, I brought Mariel that Anna plays into my campaign, her friend and apprentice in as well, and you know, she's just. It's good to have a relation in the circle. It's not all true neutrals. You know, the Tensor's gone out of the circle, and there's the first pick of her. You know, with the group, and you know, I love the
Yeah.
character.
Hmm.
I've shown this multiple times, but Dungeon Meister shows a great picture, and Georgie's on the far left, and Mariel's the second one right next to the red-haired Otto in this picture. So I love that picture of three of them are published source wizards. Um, and when you get to those levels that group is Iron Brigade, they're like 10th and 11th and 12th. This is where there's a lot of interaction with these kind of characters. So it's a great. I don't know whose character Gelarzi's was post Gygax, like who if she was a player character or if she was a creation of someone. I don't even know that data, but I just love the character. So hopefully, guys. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question, Mike. Why no one's made a Gelarzi spell? It's a good question.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, no one has that I've ever found. Even
Me
in Great
neither.
Net Spellbook era, there wasn't any there. So, what is going on here with everyone? Jason, what do you got going on, man? I know you got a
Uh,
lot going on. What do you got going on with your blog? What do you got going on
Oh
with?
well, I've got a number of things, and I just run from one thing to another anymore. I need to sit down and focus on a big project. I tried starting off a sequel to my G1 novel by starting off with the G2 sequel during the summer, and I just didn't pick up with that. Uh, I think probably my next big thing is I started work on the Ghosts of Salt Marsh,
Mhm.
and uh, I need to develop that area. And I started off on a little story with it, and I'm learning uh, 5e. Um, so I really think if I'm going to pick a focus, that it's going to be doing some conversion work with 5e and developing um, my future Greyhawk endeavors, because my current group is my nephews, is
Mhm.
to gear things toward to try to get it 5e, get new people involved in it. Maybe try to bring them back to the path of 1e. But uh, I really think that my next big thing is going to revolve around that entire salt marsh area.
Cool. Well, then
Yeah.
you definitely want to watch Wednesday night because where do you see
Definitely.
the stuff Brian Sublime has created for that area? Stuff right up your alley, man. Like
Hmm.
herbalists and all sorts of custom creations, special effects for deities, and it's all 5e.
Yeah,
So
I know it's been around for years now, but it's brand new to me.
flex it up, Brian. That's it.
Yep.
Sublime. Flex it up.
Yep.
So, definitely. It's all new to you, but I'm telling you, we're going to have a great, I think we're going to have a
Yep.
cool show on Wednesday night discussing a lot of that. So, awesome, man. That's great to hear. So, I am planning on Gabbin to have, and are you still on there, David? You still on? If you, I know Mike's on. I want to have a bloggers episode and bring some bloggers on and talk just about what's going on and just basically have a wrap session. Because David normally is crashed by now, Snafu, right? You've normally crashed out at this time. So if you could make it like all right, you, Mike, Jason. I want to try to get Tommy John Kelly as the fourth. I think that'll be a cool session to talk and just wrap.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I'll see if I can get that where everyone can go at the same time frame. And maybe over the holidays it's better because a lot of people are off from work. So we'll try that out. So I think that'll be a cool one. And Jason, you'd be up for that, right? Correct?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Good to
Yep.
hear. Good to hear. All right. So
Well,
Anna, what do you got? What do you got? What do you got smoking right now? What
my,
do you got
my
going on?
big project is to wrap up the 576 map, and I'm working my way through the Sheldamar Valley at the moment. So that I definitely I really want to do that before the end of the year. So I have a couple of weeks to really work. So that's my big thing right now is to get the 576 map. I thought it would be like a few weeks project, but damn, I'm digging into the sources and I find things that should have been there or shouldn't be, and stuff like that. So it's a way bigger revision than I thought, and I'm starting to be real proud of it. So I think it will be a map that a lot of people will like, and hopefully it could be a new benchmark for reference. so it will be the map version of Jason's awesome index. That will be that's my goal, to try and be it. So I'm really proud of what's happening there, so to speak. But that's I'm almost done. I'm like 85-90% done now, so it's not that much. I have Geoff is the big country that I need to change, that I'm digging into right now, that got a lot of change during the war, so that's what I'm doing. And then it's a little bit of small things, but that's the big thing that I will have done. But I also have a thing on my reading list that I found thanks to the show. When I was digging into all the old Gord books and stuff, I found this gem. I haven't read it. It's the book The White Plume Mountain by Paul Kidd, and it's actually in shrink wrapped. So it's probably been shrink wrapped since I got it, and I don't know when that is, but probably it's 1999. It's so I probably bought it back in 99, and it's been shrink wrapped ever since. So I'm going to remove the shrink wrap, and I'm going to read this as part of my research for my upcoming campaign that will be set in the Shieldlands in 598, 599. So it was what used to be the Shieldlands. So I think that Wild Plume Mountain is one of the big iconic locations in the area. So I think this is just what I need to, one of the things that on my reading list. So this will be over the holidays. This will be my kind of semi-work reading, so to speak.
Awesome, Anna.
Yep.
So, guys, this was a great one. I got a couple things to say. Jason's linked 2 things in chat. The first one is his new Facebook group, and if you do Facebook, it's called Greyhawk The Earth Abides, just like the dude abides. I like the name. Love it. So, go on there. There's not a lot of members. Aaron and myself are on there, and Jason will welcome you. It's his group, and we just talk stuff all the time. There's a lot of cool things. Carlos is on there. David, Tommy John Kelly. I think Greg, did you get on there yet? A lot of good people are on that site. So check that out. And then you got Jason's blog, Hall of the Mountain King. Please check that out. Good, David Leonard checked his Greyhawk Musings. Check his out as well. Like I said, guys, I owe you all shout outs. I got to get my shout out list.
Oh, I did a shout out from me, so I just put the links to my Patreon and to my website. So yep.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So this week is still not over as far as marathons. This is 4 stream and 6 nights. Tomorrow will be 5 and 6. So Marco's group runs tomorrow. They continue Firestorm Peak. It's iconic. So they continue that. It's early, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Yeah, I will attempt to be the mod on that. I'm not sure if I'm going to be. I may be running late on that one tomorrow night. And then we're back on Wednesday for Legends and Lore. I already linked that, and that's Saltmarsh Then and Now. And then we finish up our last adventure of the year, titled Into the Depths of the Sus. I have a very nice surprise for everyone. No one's guessed what's going on there yet, where these albino humans are causing trouble. And they ran into an evil treant along with a semi-corrupted treant and a real treant in the last fight. And kind of they did the right thing and not kill the semi-corrupted treant, and the good treant kind of saved it. So that was neat. But that'll be our last adventure for the year, because we'll have to be the day after Christmas, so we'll have to be off. Family things trump. So, but 2020 is going to be massive, guys. All the stuff we're going to have going on. I can't wait. Cannot wait. I'm looking forward to a bunch of fun adventures. Tim will be back. Brian will be back DMing on Saturday Night Specials, and our fundraiser February 15th, and then Gary Kahn, and my God, there's so much. There's going to be so much going on. Trials of the Legion. We're going to have and new firsts in Norwell. So eventually, at some point in the year. So 2020 is going to be awesome, Skag. I can't wait, man. And that'll signify the start of our 40th anniversary. So, Jason, anything you want to say in closing, man? Thank you for coming on for the first time, man. I really appreciate you doing it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I just love your show. I mean, I'm totally, I'm just completely amazed by what you've been doing for the last 40 years and what you're doing now with your setup and everything. And I also wanted to add with Anna that, I do a lot of, I do daily stuff with Greyhawk. I try to do a little bit here and there, and I constantly use her maps for reference work. So, I mean, if you have not taken a look at what she's done, you really got to look at it. Use these maps. They are kind of the heart of. They bring the campaign to life.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
so glad, because that's what I want them to be, the canvas for people to play out their Greyhawk campaigns on, so to speak.
When you take what information's out there now on Greyhawk Online, on our Discord server, on all the bloggers that are doing all that, with Anna's maps and Brian Blumklotz's heraldry, you got everything you need to, plus all the reference material that's out there in publications, and you have everything you need to create a fantastic Greyhawk campaign of your own. And start it wherever you want it to start it, and run it however you'd like, and whatever edition you want to play it in. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
The information's there, and like I always will give any of my information out, our classes, our special, because I want to share it, and that's one of the reasons why we stream, is we want to bring our version of miniature style 1E, 2E to everyone. And that's not the right way to play. There's no right or wrong way to play. You play however you want to play. You play hard, heavy role play, heavy combat, whatever you want to do. That's a good thing. It's a great thing about the game. Guys, thanks, man. What a great night. Another great show. Thank you both for coming on. Hang on there, Jason, if you can, while we go to the exit screen. And see, that's good, Evermeet, that you did that too. I mean, that's the perfect. All right, that's a perfect thing, is that you saw what great things Anna does with the maps, and you got a couple people putting in a request there. Greg Baker just put in a request to you on there, Jason, on the Earth Abide. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks, Skaga. Thanks for the host. Thank you so very much. And we'll go to our NBA, our oldest sponsor screen here. Let me make sure I press the right button. Oh, I did. Look. All right. So you see us Monday and Wednesday this week to start off. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, guys, for streams. So we still got three streams this upcoming week. So I'm excited about it. You got a couple requests, Jason, coming in. So that's good. That's good, man.
Okay, I'll get to them.
That. Awesome.
Whew. Yeah, thank you, Jason. It was wonderful to get a chance to talk to you for the first time. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, great talking with you guys.
Yeah, definitely, man. We'll make this more of a regular thing, man. Definitely.
Yep.
Definitely. So, and you got some lore there. You got some depth. I mean, you got some old Gygax depth.
Yeah. And we need to, Jason, have you on a Legends and Lore show where we talk about how to do research and depth. I think that will be a great topic. And I think you're one of the given participant in that discussion.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Yes, David, I'm glad to see you made it to the end of a show. I know normally you got to crash, man, but glad to see you made it through.
It's wonderful.
Instead of watching it after the fact. That's awesome.
That's great.
I know Legends of Lore is even later. It's 8 to 10, so.
Yep.
Oh, man. That's fair. All right, we're going to see you all. See you all tomorrow night if you can on Mark's stream. That'll be 6 p.m. EST. Everyone have a great night. See you.